Our top story today is with Pakistan and its Foreign Office that summoned India's acting ambassador to protest after Indian attacks across the line of control. During the meeting in Islamabad, Foreign Office spokesman Mohamed Faisal condemned the targeting of innocent civilians in Azad Kashmir by Indian forces.
Office spokesman Mohamed Faisal told Charge d'Affaires Gaurav Ahluwalia that India's deliberate targeting of civilian populated areas is deplorable. He said India's violations are contrary to human dignity and international human rights and humanitarian laws. Faisal warned Ahluwalia that India's ceasefire violations are a threat to regional peace and security and may lead to a strategic miscalculation. Faisal said Indian occupation forces have continuously been targeting civilian populated areas along the line of control and the working boundaries since 2017. He urged India to respect the 2003 ceasefire arrangement in letter and spirit and maintain peace on the line of control and the working boundary. Earlier, Pakistan's military spokesman Major General Asif Ghafoor said 5 civilians and 1 soldier were martyred in the Indian ceasefire violations today. He says 6 other civilians and 2 Pakistani soldiers were wounded in the unprovoked Indian attacks on the Jura, Nowsheri and Shahkot sectors along the line of control. Ghafoor said 9 Indian troops were killed and 2 bunkers were destroyed in Pakistan's retaliatory fire.
Well, for more on this developing story, we're joined by Islamabad by spokesperson of the Foreign Office, Dr. Mohamed Faisal. Dr. Faisal, thank you for joining us in Indus News. So Pakistan has repeatedly warned that India has been planning false flag operations to provoke this kind of escalation that we saw earlier this year. What are India's motives towards this attack?
Yes, the Indian violations of the ceasefire line of control, the ceasefire line, continue, and last night was especially very hot, where it led to many casualties on our side and more than 9 people killed on their side when we retaliated to their unprovoked ceasefire violations and the intended targeting of civilians. We have made it clear to the Indians that any provocation would get a befitting response. As Director General South Asia and SAARC, I just called in the Indian Charge d'Affaires and lodged a strong protest of Government of Pakistan on these ceasefire violations.
Dr. Faisal, Pakistan has, of course, mounted a powerful campaign against India's rights violations in Indian-occupied Kashmir. Does the current escalation represent an Indian attempt to distract the global attention towards the curfew and clampdown in the valley?
You're very right that whenever things heat up for the Indian government in Srinagar and in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, they make attempts to distract international attention and they heat up the line of control. And they try to shift the focus to the line of control instead of what is going on in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, where 8 million people are kept in a prison. And there's a complete communications blockade, internet blockade, telephone blockade, medicines, food supplies are not being brought to the civilians. It is a huge humanitarian disaster, and this is the Indian attempt to shift attention from what is happening in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir to the line of control.
Dr. Faisal, thank you for that. But let's get more on this with Lieutenant General retired name Khalid Lodi, who's with us. He's a defense analyst and he's been serving in the military for over 30 years in Pakistan. Mr. Lodi, thank you for joining us in Indus News. So tell us, another act of Indian aggression, another ceasefire violation by Indian forces. What do you have to say about this?
The first thing is that this is the only language that Indians understand. We have tried our best to remain peaceful. We have extended the hands of friendship, and they have always, given us negative reactions. Why are they doing it? The basic, we must ponder on this thing that after 76 days of curfew and blackout and all those, things that they are doing to the Kashmiris, they haven't been able to achieve their phase 1 of the objective, and that objective was to martyr or eliminate the leadership and the youth who were carrying out this freedom movement in occupied Kashmir. So in my own assessment, it was a job of 10 to 15 days for such a large force to take to control 450 to 500 maximum people, according to their own numbers, which were carrying out all these freedom movements. So after 76 days, they have not lifted the curfew, means that they have failed in their objective one, the first phase. And out of frustration, they are doing all these things, the one which they are doing today, which they have done today also. But I think this is, one mistake after another mistake, and they'll keep on belittling themselves at international forums. They will keep on belittling themselves in the eyes of the Indians themselves. And what I can see is that all these events are leading towards independence of Kashmir, Kashmir joining Pakistan, and getting out of the clutches of India. So it is their own mistake, and they'll have a bitter lesson after every episode. Yes.
As you mentioned, it's been one mistake after another by India. So what do you think is the purpose of all of this?
Actually, they're trying their best to assimilate whatever they've already done, after revoking 370 and also 335A. Now, of course, their next step would have been that after putting a lot of fear in the hearts of Kashmiris and after getting complete control over the freedom movement, then they would have tried to change the demographic situation of the country. They would have tried to bring more, maybe some investments, but they are failing in their even the first part, that is controlling the things. And they have now realized that the morale of Kashmiris is directly related to the way Pakistan is standing with them, and they would like to hurt Pakistan in a way so that Pakistan gets subdued and the Kashmiri morale goes down. That is not going to happen, inshallah. That is what they are trying out of frustration. But this is all, they planned something else, and because of the reactions, events are taking them in some other direction, and that direction, as I said earlier in my own assessment, will lead to emancipation of Kashmiris from their atrocities.
Mr. Lodi, thank you for your analysis and for being with us here on Indus News.